Go ahead, Tony. It says we're in a practice session. My screen says we're in a practice session. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Clackamas County Board of Commissioners July 6th meeting for issues and updates. County Administrator Gary Schmidt, you're up.
Thank you, Chair Smith. Commissioner Schrader is on her way. Otherwise, the commission is all here. We are a day later today because of the holiday, and this will be 30 minutes maximum, but we have a short list. First, Chair, if you would please convene as the North Clackamas Parks and Recreation Board.
I will now recess as the Board of County Commissioners and convene as the North Clackamas County Parks and Recreation District.
Thank you. There is an advisory board and commission appointment for the North Clackamas Parks and Recreation District Advisory Committee. Tony, would you please read the information?
Good morning, Chair, Commissioners. The NCPRD District Advisory Committee currently has 4 openings on their commission due to term expirations. Through a recruitment process, 8 applications were received and 4 are recommended for appointment. The recommendation is as follows. Missouri Gatmu, Raphael Koop, Katie Scott, David Gilman.
Thank you, Tony. I will now entertain a motion.
I move to approve the 4 appointees.
Seconded.
Commissioner Savas has moved to approve the 4 appointees to the...
Mike? Is there a mic on?
Thank you, Paul. Thank you very much. Commissioner Savas has moved to recommend for approval the 4 people for the NCPR district, and Commissioner Scholl has seconded that motion. Any further discussion on this item? Seeing none, Tony, please take the poll.
Commissioner Savas,
Aye.
Commissioner Scholl,
Aye.
Commissioner Fisher,
Aye.
Chair Smith.
Aye. Motion passes 4-0. Thank you very much. Tony, or
Thank you. Chair, would you now reconvene as the Board of County Commissioners?
now recess as the NCPR district and reconvene as the Board of County Commissioners.
Thank you. First up is requests for consent agenda. We'll start with County Council. Item 1, approval of an amendment to the library construction and operation intergovernmental agreement between Clackamas County and the City of Gladstone. This amendment extends the deadline for construction completion by 12 months with no change to the agreement value. Who's speaking on this? Jeff, is that you? Jeff Munz, Assistant County Counsel, please come forward. Just a real quick update on what this is, please.
Yes, thank you. As Administrator Schmidt just described, there's an extension of the IGA with the City of Gladstone for the construction of the new library for 12 months from when this is passed or when this is approved. And also, it would have the county completing the demolition of the former City Hall building by November of this year and putting up a sign that this would be where the new facility would be located. And it just continues to extend all the deadlines in the agreement to correspond to this 1-year extension. Also, it has the county going out for a cost estimate at 9 months into this extension to test where the values are coming in the estimates, and then if it's something we can move forward, then we would do so within the timelines outlined here in the amendment. The city is proposing this simultaneously to their city council.
Is there any questions or comments regarding this? Commissioner Scholl.
And that would be an assessment of the cost 9 months from today?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Commissioner Savas?
Yeah, I appreciate this. I support it. I did want to make a comment similar to our discussions along this long journey of a year or more on projects in general. This is really as a result of cost escalations and us putting a pause on that until maybe the prices and availability of contractors improves, hopefully. So this is in line with that, and Commissioner Scholl and I have made a request to get on the agenda soon, discussion about all the projects. As it relates to this, just keeping this on focus, as it relates to this, if we can get, in this time, get the Oak Lodge Library aspect, the engineering up to the same level of prep as the Gladstone, there might be additional opportunity for savings to do them together with the same contractor when it comes to mobilization. So I want to look at the best way to get this all done at the same time, and so I'll look forward to that conversation, and just want to say I endorse the work here. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you. Any other comments? Seeing no objections on this.
Okay, thank you. Item 2 from County Council, adoption of a board order authorizing a project agreement for the design, construction, partial financing, operation, and maintenance of the Clackamas County Circuit Courthouse with the special purpose entity formed by Fengate PCL Progress Partners. Project value is approximately $313 million. Funding is through the Oregon Courthouse Capital Construction Improvement Fund, the State of Oregon General Fund, the Oregon Judicial Department, and budgeted county general funds. Nate Boderman is Assistant County Counsel. A quick update, please. Nate.
You bet. So in light of your decision last Wednesday to move forward with the courthouse project, really, and more specifically Fengate's proposal as the preferred option, we have for your review and approval this Thursday a board order which really formally sets in motion the authorization to move this transaction to closing. So with this board order, you have the approval of a form of contract with Fengate to govern the design, construction, partial finance, operation, and maintenance of the courthouse throughout the duration of the project. And so if you approve the board order this Thursday, county staff will then have the necessary authorization to begin compiling really all the materials to get this to the formal closing. And there's a lot of materials. And so to those ends, to help facilitate with the closing, we're proposing that you delegate authority to County Administrator Schmidt to execute the final version of the project agreement within the limits stated in the board order, and to execute other ancillary agreements, really that are necessary to directly implement that project agreement. So if you do approve this on Thursday, we'd be working over the next month or so really to close the transaction and to implement the schedule that's summarized in the staff report, which means a closing in August, which means final design of the courthouse being completed by the end of this year, groundbreaking in January with a substantially complete courthouse ready for occupancy by May 2025. I understand this will be a discussion item on the agenda. Is that
I wanted
correct?
to ask that. Would you like to have this as a discussion item on Thursday rather than a consent agenda?
Yeah, I think it's important enough to do that.
Okay.
Commissioner, okay, have you finished, Mr. Boderman?
Well, I was just going to say and bring up that Gary Barth is out, and so the intent of this Thursday's vote really is to be a formality in the sense that you're implementing the direction that you provided staff last Wednesday. So if you do have substantive questions about what we're requesting here, I guess, let me know those today or let me know those before the session tomorrow. We can get you the answers tomorrow, but just wanted to give you a heads up that we might be limited in our ability to get you specific questions if you ask those at tomorrow's session. So.
And there is an email sent to all the commissioners, and there is a board order and a revision, I believe. Correct, Gary?
Yes, that is correct. There was a slight update that needed to be made, and we sent that all to you by email, and it's posted online as well.
Yeah, it's online. Commissioner Savas, you're up.
Yeah, I respect the board's decision, so I'm not here to try to change anything, but I just wanted to express some points I wanted to make last week, wasn't able to. The motion was made and the discussion was cut short, but I do want to just say, and I'll get to my request, I want to say that one of my concerns with the P3 model versus like a CMGC or other models is that along the way, changes to financing or abilities to capture the market, I understand it to be, I could be wrong, but are more limited with the P3 model, that it really is a commitment of 30 years versus what we could do with flexibility with a different model. So that said, my request is, including the email that was just referenced here with the changes regarding the costing or the estimates being actually a little bit higher, that we did not have in the material last Wednesday the actual at least 5-year cash requirements for all the activities related to the courthouse. That's not spelled out. So I would like to know or see what all those expenditures are, including moving the building over here, the relocating them, the tenant improvements to house that department, where they go. Those things, and the city permitting for all of that, that's related to the moving or not, and what's incorporated, what's not. It's not clear to me what those financial requirements are, and that was the thrust of what I wanted to speak about on Wednesday. We don't really know what we're in for. I think not only do we not know, I think our staff should know very clearly what that is. So when we budget, when we're trying to budget now for the next cycle, 23, 24, that we know what we're talking about. We know what our cash requirements are for the next 5 years. I don't know what they are.
Okay. Commissioner Scholl.
Yes, good morning. On the agenda item, the word approximately $313 million, I don't like that word. The agenda items for the project agreement, design, construction, and everything, shouldn't that be worded not greater than 313 million? Because what my concern is that if the board's gonna commit to this, we're committing to an amount of 313 million, not greater than, because we don't need any kind of creep in this thing, right?
Understood. So as Gary described last week, we have to account for movements in the market between now and financial close, which is August 2022. What we've been able to do, and the information I didn't have when we submitted these materials last week, was actually our ability to get what amounts to a rate lock, right?
A rate lock?
A rate lock, to give you some certainty on what your first year availability payment would be. And so that's where, if you look in the board order, that limit of $15.5 million for your first year's availability payment comes from, is really what amounts to a guaranteed cap on that. Now, that's higher than the amount. We expect that it would come in lower, but the rate lock provides us the ability to say your first year's payment will not exceed that. Now, moving into years 2 through 5, just using, to respond to Commissioner Savas here, that price increases based on inflation as well, right? And it's indexed with the Consumer Price Index, if I understand correctly. And so what we need to do is take that first year base number, which again doesn't exceed $15.5 million, and then do what we can to, project out inflation, just like we do with other commodities and things like that. So we can provide you our best guess as to what that inflation will do over the first 5 years, but we know at least the first 12 months will not exceed $15.5 million in the way that we have this structured.
In the way of what?
In the way that we have this structured currently with the financial instrument that we were able to secure in the last couple days.
Commissioner Savas.
I think that's it's counter to what Commissioner Schultz is looking for, and it's also counter to what I would like to see as well. It's really not a firm number as it would be under other contracting models in which there is a firm, hard price not to exceed. And this is concerning. So you tie it to inflation, we are setting ourselves up for inflation. So is it tied to deflation?
So the capital charge is fixed. What's tied to inflation, the Consumer Price Index, is then the facility management charge, right? And so those were costs that we wouldn't be able to project if we were maintaining this on our own, right? I mean, if we were trying to project out what our maintenance charge would be 30 years from now. We just don't know that, right? And so we do our best to lock in the capital charge. We'll know that. We can provide you that information. What increases over the duration of the contract based on inflation is that facilities management charge.
I brought that up as an issue last year when it was at $3 million, and now it's at $4 million, and that's exorbitant amount of money for maintenance charge. It exceeds anything we've done here on all the buildings in the entire county that we own, that cost. And to have that as a number, that over 30 years, that's $120 million plus the ongoing years after that to maintain it at that level. So just want to say, I don't know how much room we have for a carve out for an additional $4 million of maintenance, but that's what we're signing up for.
Gary Schmidt.
Can we just pause? The Zoom
Yes,
Zoom is disconnected, so the meeting's not broadcasting right now. Would you mind just pausing for a
No,
second?
let's just pause for a moment and we'll get caught up on our technology. And then Commissioner Schrader, you're up next.
Yeah.
So we just won't say anything.
Okay.
Do we have to pause on the coffee too?
No, I'm going to get a cup of coffee.
Can we ask if there's been internet?
So we will
You can
now,
raise the gavel. Thank you.
Must be sunspots.
and so do I expect our monitors to change?
They will not change. You'll see nothing
Okay.
on your monitors. So.
So we have returned from our recess due to internet issues, and we're going to continue the discussion. Commissioner Savas, had you finished your comments?
Yeah, I did. I'm not sure where,
Okay.
whether or not it
Let's
doesn't
make
need to be
sure-
recorded.
let's make sure-
I'll speak to it Thursday.
Okay, well, let's make sure that Gary Schmidt and Nate Boderman has understood what both commissioners have said on this.
So Gary, you understand my point?
I do, yes.
Okay, it's the cost, all the ancillary costs that you and I spoke about that are not included in the Fengate proposal.
Yep. Understood. We'll have that for you tomorrow because that does exist. And Commissioner Shull, let's just, Nate, be really direct here. So we cannot guarantee a price because we're going through the financial closing. Their interest rate could change the next 30 days, and it might go up higher. Not a lot, but it might go up higher than $313 million. So if you're telling us we're locking in at $313, can the board do that? How does that impact the finances?
So what you're guaranteeing through the board order is an availability payment of not to exceed $15.5 million. And extrapolating that out, it comes to approximately 313. I'd have to go back and.
Nate, could it be less than 313?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Oh, that's not.
Okay.
So the $15.5 million is a very conservative estimate in the sense that Fengate wouldn't be able to guarantee above and beyond that.
So my question is, why can't we say not greater than 313? Why can't that language be inserted? Because, for instance, although it appears as this is going to be on consent agenda, it will not appear on consent agenda tomorrow. It would be a regular board item for discussion.
Well,
Correct. We're going to make this a board discussion item for tomorrow.
Okay? Okay, I think we need to say not greater than 313.
well, you do need to keep in mind, though, that some of this is indexed to inflation. And so we can't guarantee that inflation will not continue on its trajectory in a way that would keep this below $313 million for the entire project. We can lock in a capital charge for your building, right? That price is guaranteed by Fengate. What we can't guarantee in the way that this deal is structured is that the facilities management charge wouldn't continue to increase such that, to keep track with inflation. Does that
Okay,
make
the
sense?
facilities management charge, I believe, is $3.3 million per year.
Plus 0.7 for the capital, which is a total of 4.
I'd have to get you that number. I don't have that off the top of my head.
Okay, there are some years that we are not going to be spending that amount of money. And wouldn't that, in fact, roll over to years down the road, to future years?
Our obligation is expressed, again, in an availability payment, an all-in payment that amortizes the cost, the capital construction costs, and the facilities management charge into one number that the county pays annually, much like your mortgage, right? And so, again, that can adjust based on inflation for the facilities management charge.
Commissioner Savas.
Yeah, it is clearly spelled out and there's a lot to read there, but I was trying to point that out. It's spelled out that it's $3.3 million for the annual FCM or FMC, facilities management charge, plus the 0.7 for the capital portion of that. And the amount that it averages out as far as what's invested in changes a little bit, but essentially it's $4 million a year times the multiplier, with the exception of maybe the first year. But what I find it striking, if you actually read the documents of what that's made up of, and you break that $4 million charge, it seems strange that in year 1 or 2, before the building's built, and even the year after, you're still spending $14 million to maintain a building that hasn't been built and a building that's brand new. So that's why I really beg everyone to read the material. Some of it does not make sense to me.
Okay, thank you,
That's
Commissioner
a lot of money,
Savas.
public money.
Gary Schmidt.
Sorry, Commissioners, I'm concerned about time today, so your only question is, do you want this on tomorrow's agenda or not, please?
Yes, we do.
All right, board discussion item tomorrow. We'll get all these questions answered for you. Thank you. Thanks, Nate. Moving on, Health, Housing, Human Services. Item 1, approval of a cooperation agreement with Clackamas County's Children's Commission to fund and administer construction of building improvements at the Estacada Head Start Preschool. Agreement value is $240,000, of which $140,000 will be provided by Clackamas County through the Federal Community Development Block Grant Funds. No county general funds are involved. Rod Cook is Director of Health, Housing, Human Services. Go ahead.
Yes, as mentioned, this would fund a portion of the construction expenses for Head Start building improvements project at the preschool in Estacada.
Commissioner Scholl.
This preschool, is it going to be constructed on the same property that grade school's on? Where's this going to be?
The preschool currently exists, and it's upgrading. If it's the building I'm thinking of, it's down the street from the school.
Okay.
Any objections or further questions? Seeing none, go ahead.
Item 2, approval of an amendment adjusting budgeting of a subrecipient grant agreement with Northwest Family Services to provide shelter and rent assistance services. Agreement value remains at $857,500. Funding is through Federal Emergency Solutions grant funds. No county general funds are involved.
Yes, this basically just takes the same amount of money and moves more money into the Renaissance's budget line from other parts of the grant. So it's basically creating more funds for Renaissance.
Any questions or comments? Seeing no objections.
Item 3, approval to apply for funding opportunity with Clackamas Workforce Partnership for Prosperity, $10,000 to increase employment services. Grant value is $149,999 for 1 year. Funding is through Clackamas Workforce Partnership. No county general funds are involved.
Yes, this would be a one-year renewable local grant to increase employment services for adults in Clackamas County.
Any questions or comments? Seeing no objections.
Item 4, approval of an amendment increasing funding of a fixed-price sub-agreement with Oregon State University for parenting education expansion programs. Amendment value is $98,035. Agreement value is increased to $167,785. No county general funds are involved.
Yes, if approved, this would expand access to parenting education and parenting supports for families with young children 0 to 6 years old.
Commissioner Schrader.
So is that Rod, so is that an extension program? Or is it just
Extension?
Extension, if it's Oregon State University.
No.
No.
Oregon State University, they're the fiscal agent for the parenting programs in the states.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Any objections? Seeing none.
Item 5, approval of an annual statement of assurances and verification of intent for the Older Americans Act Area Plan for 2021 to 2025. Statement has no fiscal impact. Underlying agreement has a value of $2,608,920, including $306,550 of budgeted county general funds. Other funding is through state and federal funds and matching funds from subrecipients.
Yeah, so you've already approved the plan. This is just a new piece that's required. It's the assurances piece, and so that's what we're asking to be signed. You've already seen the plan or approved the plan. You approved the annual plan. This is just the assurances page.
Any questions or comments? Seeing no objections.
Item 6, approval of a subrecipient agreement with TriMet for statewide transportation improvement funds for fiscal years 2021 to 2022 and 2022 to 2023. Agreement value is $2,512,199. Funding is through the Oregon Department of Transportation. No county general funds are involved.
Yes, these funds will be used to execute the fiscal year 21-23 STIF approved projects. No matches required.
Any comments or questions? Seeing no objections.
All right, thank you, Rod. Commissioners, all of these items you heard today will be on tomorrow's business meeting on consent agenda, except the courthouse, which will be a board discussion item. Next, review of your business meeting for tomorrow, Thursday, July 7, 2022, 10 a.m. You have a public hearing, a first reading of an ordinance that amends multiple sections of the county code, which you already had a policy session on a few weeks ago. All of today's consent agenda, a board discussion item on the courthouse, and then the other regular items. If you have any questions on any item, please let me know, and we're happy to answer them for you before Thursday. Next, in the 4 minutes you have left, Commissioner Communications.
Commissioners, communications, or would you like to wait to the end of our policies? Go ahead, Commissioner Shaw.
I got one. Yesterday, we received an email from the Association of Oregon and California Counties. We have a time-sensitive action we need to take by 1 August, and that is to declare whether or not we want to take for the next 2 years a shared timber receipt or opt for the Secure Rural Schools payment. Now, those two, I sent this to Mr. Madcore and Mr. Schmidt yesterday. They're looking at it. But right now, those two payments are probably going to be very close. For all the counties, they yield about 30 million, something like that. But the clincher here is that the United States of America is seeking recovery of damages from Pacific Corp for the alleged neglect handling of the transmission lines that apparently started the Archie Creek fire. And if we take Secure Rural Schools payment, we wouldn't be able to receive, possibly during FY22-23, a piece of that. should the United States prevail in that lawsuit. So the reminder here is that we need to get back to the association by 1 August. So we need to look at that probably in the next week or two.
Yeah, Gary, can we tee this up at issues for next Tuesday?
Yeah, I have staff reviewing it, and we'll have it on issues next Tuesday, yes.
Okay, good. And then we
Yeah.
can discuss it in depth further, and Commissioner Scholl, if you would like to come forward and make a report at that
okay.
time. And I find it interesting that they're going after this shared revenue agreement to pay default for a power company.
Yeah.
The way, if that's how it's being teed up.
No, I don't think that's not the issue here, I don't think.
Okay, well, we'll listen to the issue.
Okay, good.
Thank you. Is that it?
Yeah, thank you.
Commissioner Savas?
Yeah, I wanted to just alert you all. ODOT's been somewhat inconsistent on a number of their things that they've been putting out regard to tolling and the I-205 project. And I got some communication from them in a number of ways. I don't have a lot of time to talk about it today, but I want to alert you that there is a hearing, I believe it's July 16 or 18, don't quote me on that, on the draft low-income toll report. And this is going to be forwarded to the legislature and also going to be heard by the Oregon Transportation Commission on that date, with a public comment period closing on August 1st, and gives very little time, actually not adequate enough time for any of the region to mull that over in their coordinating committees, Washington County, Clackamas County, Multnomah County, all the JPAC, all those groups. It's like all of a sudden you get this and there's very little time. So I might have something for you all on Tuesday to submit either a letter of concern about the timeline and/or comments about this one draft, the Oregon Toll Program. Also, there's another aspect of this, which is the tolling and congestion pricing Goal 6 materials as well. So lots of moving parts, very complex, but I think our staff are going to try to put something together for recommendation for us to either to forward a letter of concern, and we have C4 tomorrow night. This will be discussed there too, but I want to make you all aware that there might be some communication going out from us, ideally, and the region and/or C4. So just a heads up.
Would you like to discuss that at issues next Tuesday, Commissioner Savas?
Probably, yeah,
And
probably.
will that give you enough time to prepare a letter? And is the letter, are we on a time limit for the letter?
Yeah, there's going to be a time limit for everything, so we're trying to get some consensus, and our staff are studying the material. There's so much stuff there that came out late over the weekend and the holiday that they're all scrambling.
Okay.
And then not just our staff, but regional staff as well.
Got it. Okay, so Gary, we'll tee that up at issues on Tuesday.
Yes.
Anything else?
That's it.
Okay, Commissioner Fisher?
Yeah, just to add, would love to have a briefing. We've been hearing from constituents regarding this equity mobility, the group that's looking at what's going to be
That's
fair.
what this is. That's what this is.
Okay. If we could, and Gary, I'm not sure what the first process would be, but as part of this issues, if we could just get a briefing from staff as to, so we have a clear understanding of those of us who haven't been in the weeds on it through all the meetings and getting all of the information so that we can.
When you talk about equity mobility, are you also referring to diversion of routes?
I would be. Now, the
They have
email
not.
that Paul Edgar, who we all know, love, and appreciate, has been a great educator, very on our email over the holiday weekend, and I think his points are very well taken. But I'm not sure I don't understand all the context, because I haven't been in the room where it happens, as Commissioner Savas and Commissioner Scholl have been. So all of us just getting a high-level briefing as to where we are in this moment, if we can make that part of the issues
Yeah, that's
briefing,
fine.
that would be great.
Yeah, Gary will handle that. I'm going to, in interest of time, I'm going to move on. And if there's anything else that the board requires on this issue, please contact Gary, any commissioner that wants something. Great. Okay, Gary, what's up next?